Hello and welcome to the Labour Social here on the Labour Social channel. It is Friday night. It is Friday the 9th of February 2024. Well done for making it this far. And tonight I'm joined by Rachel Harris. Hello, Rachel, who is
Hello,
how would you introduce yourself? Trans
Uh,
activist. I guess if you're trans, you've got to be an activist
campaigner,
these days.
fundraiser, trainer.
Fantastic.
Probably something that nobody's ever heard of because like a lot of anti-trans campaigners, I work in a sphere where lots of trans people work very quietly to support the trans and non-binary community, which keeps us, safe.
Good. Well, it's not a safe place at the moment, and we'll get into that in a moment. But first of all, I'd like to say hello to Scott. Hello, Scott. How you doing, mate? You all right?
I'm cisgendered here,
Are you?
he, him pronouns and
how tedious.
A massive homosexual. So
no way.
Brilliant.
You would. I would have never guessed, Scott.
well, I mean, all the times you've seen those. Yeah, I'm not going to say that joke. Actually, I'm going to continue forward.
Oh, good. Well, should we kick off with the Tories and their absolute abomination of a week, which was topped on Wednesday by Rishi Sunak making a joke, making a sick joke about trans people in front of the mother of a trans teenager who was murdered. Like, Rachel, were you watching that live?
I was. I was watching your
God.
broadcast of it.
I lost the plot.
Yeah, so did I. Things happen, we roll with it. Things happen, we roll with it. We get up, we dust ourselves down. This is the trans community since 2017. We always get punched, we get up, and we get punched, and we get up. But that was the first time I physically felt sick. We knew that Rishi wasn't the greatest fan. But to say that, in front of Brianna's mother, Brianna's mother was in the estate and heard about it. It was just, I was numb. I was shaking. My wife's trans as well. We were just incredibly upset. I didn't sleep the following evening. I was so angry about it. And you just want, I'm a doer. I'm a fixer. And how do I get back at this? What do I do about this? And there's no way to. It just felt that we were totally helpless, that somebody could just stand up and say that. And, a lot of people behind him were laughing, and it just felt, wow, we're really in trouble now. And, that would, I don't know. I was just so upset about it. We knew that, he uses that statement regularly, the thing that he said.
Yeah.
Kid doesn't know what a woman is. Ha, ha, ha. He says it almost every week, but it just shows that his thinking is so limited that he can't think, okay, it's written down for me, but actually Brianna Chai's mother is in the house. So this is probably not the greatest thing to say. So I'm not going to say that this week. I'll do it next week, but not today. But no, let's just say it. That just shows you how slow he is to react or to think through things, or and it's his lack of empathy, that I'm not sure he feels empathy in a way that most people do.
I think there's a lot of them who don't feel that, Rachel. We talked about this on the channel a lot, like that rarefied strata of public school boy who they genuinely just don't care. So last year I was doing trips over to Ukraine, dropping off. It was 2 years ago now, bloody hell. Dropping off supplies on the border, and I was talking to James O'Brien, and he asked me, because we were trying to get some refugees over from Ukraine, and it was really difficult at the time because the British government put up barriers. Everywhere else, as a Ukrainian, you could go to your country that you're going to be staying in and then apply for asylum. In this country, you had to apply for asylum before you got here. So there were a lot of families who were just living out of their suitcases with like everything they could grab when they left Mariupol, and not being able to move forward at all until the paperwork had come through. And this was brought up by my local MP, Mary Foy, and Priti Patel, who was Home Secretary at the time, said that she would look into it. And I was talking to James O'Brien about this, and he asked me, why are they putting up these barriers? Why are they doing this? And I said, because they're evil. And he was sort of like, oh, well, I couldn't say that. And afterwards, when you kind of think, oh, do you know what I should have said? I should have said, because they don't care. That's what makes them so evil. They genuinely don't care.
Yeah.
If they wanted to be loved or appreciated, or they wanted to make anyone's life better, or they could walk for a moment in someone else's shoes, it would be a very different situation. We seem to have lost Scott. He's gone off in a big huff. Where'd you go, Scott? Come back. I didn't mean it. He's a massive Priti Patel fan. That's why. He's like, how dare you say that about Priti Patel? She's my favourite strangely shaped person with a tiny head.
Yeah, Scott, it was actually because you said Priti Patel, he had to stand up, turn around 3 times and throw salt over his shoulder.
The Wicked Witch of Westminster, yes. Yeah. Abhorrent woman. I actually regret saying that just now, calling her a boring woman, because she's just, as a person, it's just, again, another one that doesn't have any real empathy.
Yeah.
And Graham, I'm really surprised right now you haven't noticed what I've done.
What have you done? What? You got the same top as me.
We literally have the same.
Oh, that's so sexy.
Jumper.
I hate it when we go to one of these soirees.
It's Mountain Warehouse.
It is Mountain Warehouse, yes.
This is it's all fluffy on the inside.
Yeah, it's lovely. It's lovely and fluffy.
Literally the same. I'm looking at it. I'm going, oh my god, I have that.
Your screen's a little bit darker than mine. So there's some people in the chat asking me to introduce you guys again. So Rachel, this is Rachel Harris. She's a fan of Labour Social and has been in the chat. And we were having a chat. Labour Social, I've got my Labour Social mug as well. Good stuff, matching. And I was talking to Rachel and said, would you like to come on the chat? And she's like, yeah, all right. Sorry, how's the chat? And into the studio. Into the virtual studio of Labour Social. So this is Rachel Harris, and obviously we've got Scott down there as well, who you might recognise from many. You've been on loads of these, haven't you, Scott?
A few now, yeah.
He's leaving now. He's off.
Old hat.
It's too hot.
Wow, the fleece didn't last long.
Oh no,
it's too warm.
I have the heating on. Graham doesn't like the heating. I do.
You got your heating on. Can I have your
I do like the heating. It's just, this isn't my house, Scott, so I don't control it.
Wow. But I'm a very I'm a warm-blooded person, I guess. I get hot very easily. I think it's because I'm fat, and it's the extra insulation that I carry.
I've got a bit of insulation.
It was
No, but these tops, because it's all artificial fibers, it just if you get hot in these, you just sweat like a mofo.
Dude, I was about to say that gets really hot. Like if I'm in the shop and I'm wearing that, like if I've been walking up down the high street or something, and then I go into a shop and I'm wearing my have to take off, I can feel the sweat on my arms. On the it's great. It's warm. It's so warm. But at the same time, it's like it's almost too warm at times. So
I love that we're talking about our wardrobe on the
I think it's hysterical that we own this.
It's not like there's anything more important going on in the world.
It was haircuts earlier. No, it was
we're going to be obviously, as you can tell,
we're like twins but opposites. It's weird.
Sarah's saying that you got fleeced. Listen, Scott, later on in the show, we're going to be talking to you specifically about American politics, because you're our resident American. I know you lived here for like 97 years.
100 years, yeah.
100 years. 100 years of Brit. But yeah, let's get back to what's happened this week, especially.
I was just going to say, I listened to it live myself. I listen to it usually through the James O'Brien show, and the moment he said the you don't know what a woman is, whatever, I literally, because Keir Starmer does not have a good history with this at all. I was literally I was alone. I was literally screaming right in this chair where I'm sitting, going, "You have to say something now. You have to say something now. if you aren't going to say anything now, then you need to leave this subject completely out of your mouth, because you have to say something now, because this is a big whoopsie that Rishi's done. You have to point this out.
Yeah.
And I was so happy that he pointed it out, but then obviously I remember previous conversations he's had with other people, and how he has tried to placate the gender critical labor voters. I'm not saying he's playing to them, but he's trying. Sorry.
Bless you.
Have I given you my cold, Scott?
You gave me your coat and your cold. No, yeah. Sorry. Anyway, what I was gonna say was, he's trying to make sure they don't pick up a fight. Yeah, which is pretty obvious, and he's trying to do that with literally every group in the country, so that he can be prime minister. I get that, but I know I have protested vocally just on Twitter or whatever, saying you have to get rid of Rosa Duffy.
Yeah.
You have to get rid of her. She has to go. And I'm sure that people have personally said that to him. And he doesn't want to hear it. And that is the poison chalice in his party. He needs to get rid of it.
Is she going to get deselected though? Rachel, you probably know more about this.
So the mumblings and the grumblings is that she might.
So just to explain to any viewers, Rosie Duffield is a Labour MP. She's a massive transphobe, and she's got a real massive problem. She's one of these people who wakes up in the middle of the night going, "Oh my God, trans people exist!" And then she can't get back to sleep.
She started a pile onto me, and J.K. Rowling actually blocked me because of it, which was great.
Oh, that's a badge of honor.
Yeah, so I said. I was like, well, she knows who I am, and she blocked me, and this is good. In all seriousness, hearing him say that, that was like, it was a bit of a gut punch to me too. I was very surprised. But what bothers me is that if Brianna Jai's mother was not there, this wouldn't have been a thing.
Yeah.
Right? He would have gotten away with saying it, and it would have been just part of the normal culture war discourse that they throw back and forth at each other. And that also bothers me. Did it have to take her being there for people to recognize that statement and that transphobia that keeps getting brought up over and over again is the reason why Brianna Jai was murdered.
Yeah.
At
Absolutely.
the end of the day, and no one really wants to hear that. Those people don't want to hear that. That's the truth of it. Because if you have people like the prime minister sitting there going, "You don't know what a woman is. Well, a woman is a biological blah 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 blah," that is filtering down. It's filtering down to families. It's filtering down from families to children. And you end up with a horrible couple of children that have not grown up right, doing what they did. And I mean, it has to be called out at some point.
It does.
But again, it shouldn't have taken that. It shouldn't have taken that death to be interested in it, and her being on her way there. I don't care what it is. He shouldn't have said it knowing that she was going to be in the vicinity. And even with him saying, and then also the fact that he has doubled down. And tried to throw it back on Labor, and which is just clear deflection. Even when her father, or Brianna Jai's father, has asked for an apology, if you can't give the father of a murdered child an apology for something stupid that you said, you don't deserve to be the prime minister. But at the end of the day, he can't. He cannot apologize for it, because if he apologizes for it, he is then going to have Brianna Jai's name attached to that little jab. And he can't use that in the culture war that he wants to stoke in this next election. Because that insult will have Brianna Jai tagged onto it. So if he apologizes at any given point, that is a null point in any culture war he wants to stoke. And that shows that he cares more about the power that he has and the power that the party has than he does about a murdered, a father of a murdered child.
Yeah.
Is that who we should have in power? And I can really kind of go off here because now I can just sit there and go, I've heard a lot of discourse this week about whether people should vote for Keir Starmer or not. It's like, the Labour are now the same as the Tories. The fact that Keir Starmer pointed it out shows that the Labour are not.
Starmer looked absolutely pissed.
But Keir Starmer has his own learning that he needs to do.
Yeah, he does.
And he needs to talk to some trans people.
Yeah, it really does. I mean, even they've had, just a couple of weeks ago, he had a big sort of LGBT get together, and there weren't any trans people there.
That's ridiculous. That's absolutely ridiculous.
And that was like, hello.
Yeah, no, that's not right at all.
No, I mean, it is that when they meet trans people, then your heart melts because you meet young trans kids or you meet trans adults and the challenges. Oh God, you are a human being. I'm sorry that I.
Yeah, shit. You're not just a piece of a word on a page.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I think I think Keir's got this problem in that he hasn't met enough trans people. He obviously, he's so worried that if he says he does support the trans community,
he'll lose a portion of
he'll get the right-wing media will just rip him apart. A lot of trans people are just hoping that once they're in with a good majority, that he might then go, okay, now let's. But
I'm holding out hope for the same.
Yeah.
And I don't want to be made to feel stupid when they come in and then he doesn't do it.
Yeah.
And Graham says many times on this show, once they're in, we hold their feet to the fire. There's no doubt about it.
2 PRs.
We're still going to be here complaining.
We've got this is the point that I always make about Labour. We have an in with Labour. We do. We can talk to Labour. We can't talk to the Tories because we're not millionaires. It's as simple as that.
Well, I think there was a perfect example of that yesterday when, or 2 days ago, when they had this whole popcorn. Popcorn. I don't know. So stupid. It's so stupid. Liz Truss. I mean, come on. The fact they even asked her to talk, and then Lewis Goodall from LBC decided to talk to Jacob Rees-Mogg and pull him up on some of the shit he said. And Jacob Rees-Mogg was just being a belligerent pompous fucker.
Get your plebby hands off me.
Yeah.
Hoi polloi.
Pretty much. And it was he said, you clearly didn't listen to what I said. And he's like, I listened to every word you said. I'm asking you about it. You don't want to answer the question. And then he at one point said, you're just a lefty. So we're at the point now where the reasonable conservatives have left the room.
Yeah.
And now we are with hard right ideologues
and not jobs.
And crazies. And which is what's happened in America.
Yeah. Well, a lot of your influences, your Heritage Foundation, all that, are flooding money into London.
Throwing money into them.
Oh, the flooding in the Edward Freud Foundation, whatever they're called. And
the Heritage Foundation, if I'm not mistaken, I think there was an MP or two that went to that.
Yeah, Kemi Badenoch, Keir, and Liz Truss loves them. She's speaking, Liz Truss is speaking at CPAC this year. That'll be fun. I mean, she's crazy.
She's gone absolutely insane.
Oh, my goodness. Yeah. And I think Kemi has big connections, you can tell the way, I mean, their connections. to the amount of money that's flying in. I mean, the fact is that what's happening in America is happening here. Trans kids, trans adults, same-sex marriage, same-sex adoption, black rights, women's voting rights,
And now there's the backlash.
And that's the route map here. Yeah. And we've got the popcorns are already going, it's not just trans, LGBT, woke, women. What was Miriam Cates? Women aren't having children. Women should be at home having children.
Well, they're very, very frightened of the whole great replacement.
Absolutely.
I mean, they're very frightened of well, it's rooted. That's completely rooted in white
supremacy. If they want people to have children, why are they making it too expensive for normal people to
have children? They want rich people to have children.
Rich people,
but there's not enough of them.
And they want white people to have children.
Yeah,
there's not enough. They don't want white people with money.
Well, at CPAC, no, it wasn't CPAC. It was I can't remember the name of the American activist that wants to recruit young Republicans. He's got this whole. It's a bit like Turning Point. Maybe it is Turning Point.
I think it is Turning Point.
Yeah. So he got the Barbie boxes, and they wanted the girls to turn up in pink dresses and take pictures. And it's no education. Don't, just have babies and have them young and marry a rich Republican. And this is real Handmaid's Tale stuff right there.
Yeah, it is.
And that's frightening.
Yeah, and it's right in our faces. And then you have a press that don't really want to say it. And then when they do, a lot of the people in the general public are so disillusioned now with the media and politicians and everything else. When you actually try to tell them the truth about what they're doing, they don't really want to hear it. They don't believe it.
Yeah,
because they've lost that.
But what does the head of CNN, the head of MSNBC, what do they think is going to happen to them when Trump gets in?
He's going to shut them down.
He's going to shut them down or lock them up. What doesn't he not realize that? Yeah. And put even Fox is in trouble because he's not a happy clappy fan of Fox. What does what do they think?
The fact he goes on about the deep state, and I was thinking about this. Right, he talks about the deep state. Right, they must know in America that if he gets in, it's World War III.
Yeah,
like everything that you have taken for granted, it's over. It's over. People will be fighting in the streets. It's going to be a mess. It's going to be a bloodbath.
Yeah.
And the fact that there is no one in the American Secret Services who wants to step up and do what needs to be done makes me think that Trump is actually the deep state. He is the deep state. He's not fighting against it. He is the deep state. Otherwise, it's like the dog that didn't bark. Yeah. Otherwise, he wouldn't be here. Put it that way.
Exactly. And then when I talk about the uneducation of America, the stupidity of Americans, which is a harsh thing to say, but unfortunately, I grew up in the system. Like I know when you compare it to people here who know about the world, I can see it. He has literally fooled them into believing that he is the one who will save them from him.
Yeah, from him.
The cult of Trump.
I mean, how that?
I know it is. I mean, it is frightening and scary. And Project 2025 is just and they have a version of it here that they're thinking about, and it's just
the Heritage Foundation.
But there's a great American comedian that I look at that he always just pulls a Nazi salute and goes, "The Heritage Foundation," and that's when he
talks about.
Yeah.
Which comedian is that?
I'll look him up while I'm talking. You must look him up. He's absolutely a great. Just let me. I'll look him up and tell you what it is.
What scares me is right now Joe Biden's not sounding very clever.
No.
330 million people, and they can't find someone who could do that job. Come on, Scott. Who should be president? Michelle Obama. She'll do.
Well, she would if she wanted to do it.
Christopher Titus.
Okay, I'll have a look into it.
Yeah, amazing. He does a podcast. He's Democrat. He mocks Heritage Foundation, Trump, all of that. Hilarious podcast. There's an hour, but he does a 6-minute monologue like Stephen Kaboya, who got me through the first Trump presidency, does.
Oh, Stephen Colbert. Yeah, he was brilliant over lockdown with his.
Yeah, him and Jimmy Kimmel and Seth Meyers. They got me through Trump. That and the West Wing.
Yeah. I've got a question for Rachel in a moment, but before then, getting some good chats in here. Some people in the chat who are trans and talking about their experiences. Also, Mojo Sabian's asking if he saw Holly Valance this week. And I was like, yeah. She was there saying, well, everyone starts off lefty and then they marry a billionaire and become a Tory. But what's really funny is her billionaire Tory husband, Nick Candy, has now defected to Labour after sitting in the popcorn conference event thing in London. He sat there listening to
all these people and went, they're fucking crazy.
Listening to the Six Bob Knob. Liz Truss.
Lee Anderson literally saying coal was a sustainable resource.
Yeah, because you can grow it underground. Yeah, and he was like, guys, I'm out of here. Oh, Darren Daily Blase has arrived. He's come on the scene, I think. Well, I pressed admit. He should have appeared, but he didn't. Oh, there he is. Hello.
Oh, hi.
Hello. How you doing? He's connecting to audio. Darren, how you doing, Darren?
Yeah, not bad. Can you hear me?
This is great. Yeah, I like this. I like it when people come out the chat and they come on the show. Anyone can do this, by the way. Just get in touch with us and say, I want to come on the show and talk about X, Y, Z.
Yeah.
As long as you're not completely nuts. Well, we're all nuts, but
I have to go then. Sorry.
But yeah. Rachel, what I wanted to talk about was earlier in the show, you mentioned the year 2017 as some significance for the trans community.
Yeah.
As in, that was the year that things sort of went off the rails.
Well, just before. So what happened was, I transitioned in the 90s. So it was, and I was out in the club scene on the LGBT scene in the 80s and 90s. Yeah. So I was, hitting it quite hard for
whereabouts.
So Trade was one of my big ones.
Never got there.
Trade was good. Stunners, the Way Out Club, Ron Storms, Ted's Place. There are lots of clubs that you could go to, Transmission X. And so, I used to be on that scene a lot. Monday, because I was working in male mode at work and female mode at home. And, my boss for the whole time said, why are you so tired all the time? Because it was clubbing Mondays, Thursdays, Saturdays, Friday.
Oh, wow.
So it was a great time. But, things we went through, the clubs were rammed. There were lots of clubs in London rammed with trans and non-binary people. The visibility wasn't great in the 80s, but there were more of us coming out. And then, time moved forward. There were first sort of 1999, some better legislation came through, the 2004 Gender Recognition Act, the Equality Act in 2010, better healthcare, better recognition, actors, role models, magazines, and some of the papers, I was in the Times in 2016. It was still positive. And then, Theresa May announces that she wants to do self-ID in the LGBT survey. And that's great. That was from a conservative government, that was still amazing. And then, those voices started, and a lot of it was to do with America because of same-sex marriage being kind of legitimized in America, and they'd lost they'd lost that. They went for the lowest hanging fruit in America, which was trans rights, which hadn't fully been established. And that money started coming over here. And you started to see a lot of anti-trans organizations forming, getting funding. You didn't know where their funding was coming from. You didn't know where their court cases were coming from to fund those cases. And suddenly the media picked up on this, that this was a good, they were going back to their Section 28 days, started to write, you've seen 10,000 articles in 2 years, all negative, no trans voices any longer. Even the BBC starts going down, listen to Radio 4 and listen to Justin Webb, and he always finds that trans story on Radio 4 in the back of the papers. He has to dig deep, but he finds it. And you start to see, and you hear their whole demeanor on broadcasting. If they're interviewing a trans person, you listen to that demeanor, it's always attack. And that was the thing that came frightening to us. It started in 2016. It started to up to 2019. I was training and campaigning. You were getting occasional attacks on Twitter, not on Facebook, but really getting piled on Twitter. And then J.K. Rowling starts coming in, and then you get all the usual, the Rosie Duffields and the Julie Bindles and all that stuff. and it starts to get pretty toxic on Twitter. I came off Twitter 2 years ago, and it starts to step up. The newspapers, and the fact is that lots of women that come to this, and the admirers of women, and the weird guys that are in that space, they come along, and some women come to it and they think, oh my God, maybe I do need to be scared of this. They're not educated about it. They don't know, they've never met a trans person. So they're reading this stuff in the media. The media is pumping it out, pumping it out, pumping it out. No trans voices, no balance anywhere. And suddenly you start to see LGBT acceptance was very high in the UK. And then suddenly you start to see LGB acceptance is quite high, but trans is starting to fall. And, this is what they want. Get the T away from LGB. LGB then falls. And then LGB falls, women's rights fall, black rights fall, and all rights topple. It's a pick them off one by one. And trans is the spearhead of their attack. And it's working, because you are seeing this vitriol. And because politicians, they're playing the playbook. It's working for the Republicans, so it's going to work for the what's left of the Tory party. And yeah, so there are a lot of people coming to this. It's uneducation and fear, and they're not educated about it, and they jump on that bandwagon. But there's some very hardcore down the rabbit hole, Graham Lineham kind of, diehards that just are obsessed. And once you go down that rabbit hole, and sometimes it just happens that, and you see it with quite a few people online, they say something wrong about trans people, or, innocently, trans people kind of correct them. And that should be it. And, like I make mistakes and I get corrected, and everybody does. And that's okay. With an apology, it's fine. But what happens is they get enveloped by the Moonies and they get loved, and they go, oh, don't worry about them. They've been hard. You come over to us. We love you. And they get all this warmth from the anti-trans movement. And it's like they just get enveloped into this community and they go down that rabbit hole, and it's easier. Cult. Yeah, it becomes this obsessive cult. And, once they go down that, there's an episode of Star Trek in Voyager when they go into this cone and they can't get out and all the ships are trapped in. Once you go in, you can't get out. And that's what, I very rarely have seen anybody come back from that. And the media and the press and the money flooding in, because there's a lot of money flooding in to do this because they want to topple the T. And there's even an organization, which I won't name, which is in Tufton Street, that is trying to break the T away from LGB.
Joanne has just mentioned them in the chat.
Well done.
I know exactly.
Thank you very much, Joanne.
I'm just trying
to interrupt. Sorry, Rachel, because we had 2 super chats. So 1 super chat there. Thank you. That's from Captain Bar Roberts. Does anything a trans person does affect my life in any material way? No, then butt out of their lives. Exactly. And Joanne is saying the anti-trans group, the LGB Alliance, is based in Tufton Street. Say no more.
Yeah.
And Tufton Street. All your ills are caused by Tufton Street. Not by trans people. Can we just get this across to people?
And and if it hadn't been, from 2016, and we would have got on with our lives, we'd have got I'm from Ireland originally. We have self-ID in Ireland. We just got it in Spain. Trans guys are going to use it and declare themselves as women and go in and attack women in toilets because it's the toilet sign that's stopping them doing that. Whoa.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
It could just become a policeman or something. But I mean, the fact is that it is a ridiculous statement. And in the 23 countries that self-ID, that's never happened. And yet, because the way the media has turned that knife, in Scotland, self-ID, and Wales want to do it as well. It was moving forward, but they obsessed on one trans prisoner that wasn't in the general population anyway. They turned it and made it ugly and made everybody scared of it. And of course, then they pull their section, whatever it was, and block it from from England. And I think it is, that is pretty disgusting. And I'm not sure. Like, I know we want to get PR, we want to get press regulation in when Labour get in, but I'll be driving them hard for trans rights. They're going to make the Gender Recognition Act here. We should be having self-ID. The NHS, you saw the article I sent you today, Graham. They're rolling back the rainbow scheme in the NHS. That was a release.
No way.
Yeah. It's been leaked. It was leaked from Ben Hunt in Vice News that the government have been pulling funding and trying to withdraw that. The Rainbow Project's important. My wife can't get her hormones in Kent because the NHS are holding her back. And, she transitioned 15 years ago. And so it's this attack. It's like they're playing Kaplunk with trans lives. You're not going to get your hormones, not going to get your surgery. There's the waiting list, the violence. We're not going to make it a hate crime. It's this Kaplunk game they're playing to make trans people's lives difficult in the UK. Trans people are resilient, but wow, we're taking some knocks now.
It is off the charts. Is there anything that happened? I mean, you talked about Theresa May's when she wants to bring in a new Gender Recognition Act, which would allow people to self-ID to an extent. It's not like you could just go, hey, I'm Graham, I've got a beard, I'm a woman now, I'm going to go into the women's toilets and assault someone. Like, no, that's a crime. That will always be a crime. That will never not be a crime.
Yeah.
Like, but because I see it's like two sort of pincer movements of Brexit on our side and Trump on our side. It's all this Tufton Street, Heritage Foundation, mysteriously funded think tank bullshit.
Yeah, all started at the same time.
Yeah, it's all coming at the same time.
Why transphobia is rooted in white supremacy, and it's the white supremacists that are pulling that narrative together. And I just want to say to Rachel, I'm 47 years old. I came out in the 90s. When I went to my local gay bar in Kent, everyone was there, Sophia was there, Kay was there, Al was there, and we we never saw anybody as different, because we were all they're trans, that's that. You know what I'm saying? And to be part of that, to see the acceptance within the community, and then to all of a sudden see that fall apart is actually really heartbreaking. And I'm so angry about it, because Sophia still lives around the corner from me. Kay lives down the road from me, and they've been trans for 25 years, right? So at the end of the day, this isn't, when people say it's something new or it's a trend or it's a recent thing, I have to remind them, like, it's not, because Sophia was trans back in 1996.
Oh no, Scott, you're breaking up.
Was trans back in
Scott, we're losing you. We're losing you. Come back.
Oh shit, really?
Yeah.
No!
It's your dodgy southern internet.
Oh.
But you go back to 1930s Germany. The first book burnings were a lot of books on gender identity. The first people that were a lot of trans and non-binary people were sent along with LGBT people along to the camps. And we've been around for, and lots of cultures.
The beginning of time.
Lots of cultures have trans people in their writings and two-spirit identities. And we are an ancient. We're an ancient, whereas we were there, it was Adam and Eve, and then they were us. We popped up not long after. So, it is this ridiculous. Because we never seem to get a foothold in society, that we're an easy target to knock and blame for everything. And and when economies are doing badly, governments go right, and then they go and they have to blame it on somebody because of their own shortcomings. And here we are, trans people, black people, immigrants. And refugees.
I mean, it's worth saying that everybody else is getting kicking too.
Yeah, everybody's getting kicking. If you don't earn,
that's a really good point.
Even gay people to an extent. I don't think it's as bad as what
it's coming
in the 90s, but I'm scared of it coming back that way.
Yeah, Liz Truss said LGBT.
Oh, she did not. She was very inclusive in her
in her hatred.
I was going to say, so trans people is nothing new. In the same way that left-handed people and people with ADHD and gay people in general are nothing new. It's just that people can be themselves more than ever before, and we're going to get to a plateau, and there's going to be X number of people in a population, a percentage that is going to be trans, it's going to be gay, it's going to be bisexual, it's going to be lesbian, it's going to be left-handed. And why push against that? Why not just live and let live? If people aren't committing a crime and they're not hurting anyone, let them live the life that they want to do. If they want to get a really stupid tattoo on their face as a sane adult, I've got to say, okay, do it.
But
I can't stop you.
But here's the thing. If I was a right winger, God forbid, but if I was and I wanted
King Jenner.
Yeah, don't get me started.
She's an idiot.
It is, if I was low taxation, small government, and and I wanted to sort out immigration, and I was a right-wing party, I would not attack LGBT people, because there are LGBT people, sadly, that have some of those views of the right. But the fact is that you look at Gen Z, there was a survey out this week that said 28% of them are on the LGBTQI spectrum. 28%. Now they've got mums and dads. They've got brothers and sisters, cousins, friends, allies. That's a big chunk of voting.
Yep.
So if you go down to trans and non-binary people in the UK, well, the last census said 1% of Generation Z are trans and non-binary. 1 in 100. 1 in 100. That's a big bump in voting. Be nice to trans people. You might get some votes. Their mum and dads will vote for you. Their brothers and sisters will vote for you. Their allies will vote for you. But no, attacking that, it just seems, as a political party, it seems suicidal to attack what is becoming a very significant chunk of society. I mean, I'm glad that they are attacking us. This is the only reason I am, because we're all going to vote Labour, Green, Liberal. We're not going to vote for them, and hopefully they'll die and wither on the vine and disappear forever. Yeah. So in a way, that's a good thing. But whoever advises them is a lunatic, because you're like, they are attacking people that don't have much money. They're attacking doctors and nurses. They're attacking, they're just running out of people that want to vote for them, and they're voting. I mean, if they wait till the autumn, most of their voters will be dead. It's just they're running out of demographics. They'll just be rich people, and there's not enough of them to keep them in power. They may have the money.
Another thing that always really, I always think is really bizarre is that gay people have money.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
We do.
Yeah, we have a very, very strong sort of currency, and it would make sense to kind of get in bed with that. You know what I mean? And if we remember quite, if you probably remember yourself, Rachel, the pink pound was a huge deal back in the late 90s. If I remember correctly.
Yeah.
Wasn't there even a gay night at GAY called the Pink Pound?
I think it was, yeah.
But the Pink Pound was, considered to be something that you would court to win an election.
Well, I was in Manchester University from 97 to 2000, and I used to work at Fab Cafe after I worked at the Union, and around the corner from Canal Street. So we were out every night. And it was bloody great. It was bloody fantastic. And in 2000, Queer as Folk came out. Russell T Davis's show.
Brilliant.
Thank you. And it was just a really cool time to be not straight. I don't know. It was just, and it felt like, and don't forget around.
Darren's feeling left out, guys.
It was close to that time that I think first of all a gay man won Big Brother, and then a trans woman won Big Brother. Nadia.
Yeah. No one saw that as a big deal at all.
And it really did feel at the time like, oh great, people are getting it. They're just normal people. And there was a storyline in Coronation Street about a couple, and
Hayley.
the woman was trans.
Hayley Cropper.
Yes, who's also the actress who played Hayley is also in
Post Office.
The Post Office, the Alan Bates versus the Post Office. But yeah, and it just felt like it was getting normalized to a point where people can just be themselves. And when I introduced you, Rachel, I said trans activist, because that's what you've got to be now if you're trans.
Everybody that's trans and non-binary is an activist. Every LGBT person is really, you have to be in your whatever small way.
That shouldn't be the case. No, you should just be able to live your life
exhausting
as you are, and have a job and get married and buy a house and do all the things that normal people do.
Yeah, you talked about the 2016. That's Trump. That's the hard Brexit, Boris, right? And I think what it is a backlash, because there was an acceptance happening, and it was building and building and building and building and building and building, as we say. Cultural events were actually won by gay people, trans people.
Mm.
All this is the right, the Christian right, so they're going, right, we've had enough. And we're going to attack because we've had enough of it. It's in our face, and right as you roll your eyes, and so now they're just like, right, we're pushing back, and they've pushed back in the hardest possible way they possibly can.
But Scott, it's not just the right though, is it? Because you've got people who are left-wingers who believe themselves to be progressive, and they're coming out with some horrifically transphobic stuff.
They don't realize that they're not.
They're trying to Brexit the T from LGBT.
No, that's the thing. You have to correct people, because to think that is not progressive, it's regressive. And if there are gay people who are sitting there saying, I'm a progressive, I'm a liberal, you're not that. You're not that. If you have a problem with trans people, you are not that. Yeah, you are the opposite. And it's like, I've had arguments with people on Twitter. It's like, well, you are just a right-wing moron. And they're like, I'm not, I'm a Labor voter. I'm like, give back your Labor card, because you are not. You might as well affiliate yourself with Donald Trump and the Tories and all that, because those are the people that have come up with the ideology that you have decided to adopt.
Yeah.
And that you are not a progressive anymore. If you have any prejudice, you're not a fucking progressive.
Yeah.
You know, and you have to try to at least try to tell them.
Yeah. I mean, because they're trying to break the LGBT community up. And don't get me wrong, there are gay people and lesbians that don't like trans people.
Oh,
and when I meet those, I go, I want you to go out and buy a boat, go out into the middle of the deepest lake, and in it with a cannon, blow the hole in the bottom of the boat that you're standing on, because that's what you're doing. When they finish with us, they're coming for you.
Yeah. It's like that Dr. Martin Niemöller quote, isn't it?
I've said the same thing. I've said the same thing to various gay people. If you decide to adopt this bullshit, which you did not think 15 years ago, you did not believe this 15 years. I'm talking about people our age.
Yeah.
Right. You didn't think that you were happy having a fucking drink with them 15 years ago. You didn't give a shit. Now you kind of care. You got something to say. Because you know why? Because it's bringing heat onto the gay people the homosexuals thought that they were sitting pretty now. We got our marriage, we got our adoption, we got this, we got that, right? And now part of our community.
Oh no, we're losing Scott again. Scott, we're losing you.
We are being attacked.
Yeah.
And the disruption, that they're starting to feel the disruption in their lives.
Yeah.
So they would rather go, right, we don't want the disruption in our life. Let's cut loose what's causing that disruption.
Yeah.
And that is just a really simple and stupid way of thinking about it.
Scott, your internet's
it goes against the history of the LGBT.
Yeah. It goes against the history of the LGBT movement. So your sound's breaking up a bit, mate. So
of the LGBTQ gay rights movement.
Yeah.
It literally flies in the face of it, because but there was a moment back in the, I mean, if you want to go into it, we can go back in the day. There was a moment where gay people were a bit like, we're not the same as you.
Yeah.
But then eventually they had to come together to make sure that the rights could be passed. And then, is it really bad, guys?
Yeah, you break it up.
Is my sound really bad?
In a comedy
Steve
fashion.
Austin, you're breaking up, Steve. You're breaking up.
But we're getting what you're saying. It's just it's a little bit difficult.
Out a bit,
that's exactly how it sounds. Yeah,
I'm going into one. I'm so sorry.
When I was talking about think nothing being new, what I do when I talk to people who are transphobic or they don't think they're transphobic, I'm not a transphobe, but is the new I'm not a racist, but but imagine if you take this, because first of all, the same arguments that I hear now against trans people are the same ones that I heard growing up in the 80s against gay people.
Me too.
Exactly the same things about going to the toilet, and they should have their own toilets, because if they use this, all that. But the one thing that I think makes people think, along with Peter pointed this out in the chat. Thanks, Peter, for that message. That was really sweet. Saying, look at who's on your side. Like, who is on the side of the transphobes? It's Trump. It's Putin. Vladimir Putin. You should not be on the side of Vladimir Putin in any respects, any time in your life.
Yeah.
But the other thing is that I say, oh, Cosi's joined us. Hello, Cosi. Cosi's over in Birkenhead. Hello, Cosi. Come in. Cosi, can you hear us?
He's connecting.
So Cosi's a EU rights activist. For my friends from the days when we fought against Brexit as best we could. Can you hear us, Cosi? Are we coming in loud and clear?
You're okay, thank you.
Fantastic. I'm just going off on one. And that makes a change, doesn't it? I don't normally go off on one. We're talking about this week. Obviously, things have kicked off with the disgraceful Rishi Sunak saying, in front of Brianna Jai's mother, that making a joke essentially about trans people. What I was going to say is the same arguments that people are using now against trans people. Just change it. Just flip it a little bit and say, what if you said this about black people? What if you said this about a black woman? First of all, you're not a woman. Secondly, I don't want you using the same bathroom as me because I've got all these statistics here and it says that black people commit more crime than white people. So you shouldn't get the benefit of the doubt. And I think that would most people go, hang on, that would be awful. That's crazy. That's racist. That's not the world that we want. But
no, just kind of reminded me of a little story because I'm one of these people where I'm just live and let live. I'm not very little phases me, and I remember watching a bit of a program. I can't remember too much what it were about, but I do remember when you mentioned about bathroom, talking about somebody who transitioned, and she was going out to meet a friend, and they were going out to have a drink, and she sat down with a drink, and then she realised that. Which toilet am I going to use? Which toilet am I going to use? And she went, and she just that look of fear, and I thought to myself, well, yeah. And it was something for me, because for me, it's, and for most other people, it's easiest thing in the world. But I thought, well, for her, which toilet is she going to use? So in the end up, she just sucked up, got on the bus and went back home.
Yeah.
And I thought that is so sad.
Well, the attacks on trans, this toilet police that anti-trans campaigners want in the UK is hilarious because they're actually throwing more non-trans women out of toilets than they are trans women. In America, you've seen these terrible videos of some right-winger challenging a woman who doesn't look to their standard of femininity, which is misogyny right there, built into their feminist movement, and throwing out. So more non-trans people get chucked out of loos than trans people. But a lot of trans people are worried about using loos. They are getting kidney infections. They are dehydrating themselves before they drive from London to Manchester, so they don't have to stop at a service station.
Yeah, I can imagine, because it wasn't something I'd ever thought about. Well, I wouldn't really, but when I listened to a story, I thought, oh my God,
that's not something anyone should have to think about.
Exactly,
It's what every human being does.
We can talk about privilege here. Cosi, you're on mute at the moment. Do you want to come in on this? Because when it comes to no, she's camera off. She's had to move. No, but when we think about privilege, when we think about what it really means, is like what Darren was talking about there. Not having to think about using the loo.
Yeah.
Or if you're a man, not having to think about how you're going to get home from the club.
Yeah.
And these are things that stuff. Hello, Wayne. Can you hear us?
Let me tell you about the time I was misgendered.
Yeah.
And suffered a homophobic attack.
Oh my God.
So, oh God, this is a long time ago. Tell you what, Graham, you can work out how long ago this is when I tell you we were in the taxi queue outside Stairways in Birkenhead.
Oh, bloody hell. So that would be in the 90s, early 90s?
No. It wasn't.
No?
Late 90s.
Late 90s. Okay.
Yeah. So it was a long time ago, before we had the Equalities Act.
Before
For the internet.
Or the
All this was
internet.
fields.
No buses.
And
Walk 20 miles.
I mean, do I look like a guy? I mean, I'm wearing no makeup right now. I look like a bag of shite because I completely forgot this was on. So, you know, normally I at least draw on some eyebrows. Now, on this occasion, I had
You look fab,
hair
Cosi.
down to my hips and a full face of makeup, bright crimson red lipstick, the full goth eyeliner, you know, the whole shebang. It was raining, so I wore a hat. Imagine that. Quite similar to the one you're sporting right now, actually. And, you know, because I don't like wet hair. And I wore a leather jacket and high heels. And I was with my dear friend, who is 6'1" and very straight. But he's a bit of a dandy, so he always wears a suit. And, you know, he's an old goth. And
I know a lot of those.
as you do.
Absolutely loads.
So anyway, we were out on this sort of friendly date. We'd been to the club. Obviously, we lived in the same building, so we were going to take a taxi home together. And these two scallies kept coming up to us, and they kept saying stuff to us. But to be honest, I don't actually know what they were saying. I have no idea, but they kept saying something about wanting us to kiss or something or whatever. Basically, we felt intensely uncomfortable, just wanted to get to the front of the taxi queue. And to be fair, the bouncers at the taxi rank, you know, they were dead nice. They just ushered us into the cab and off we went. And halfway home, I went, they thought we were a gay couple. I wanted to go back. I wanted to pull them up. I'm a girl. Away, you're homophobic fuckwits. So, you know, these people, they get it wrong all the time.
Yes.
And we are now seeing situations where, you know, people
they talk about genital inspection.
There are more cis women being challenged at toilets than trans ones.
Well, this is the big problem, isn't it? I've said this a few times.
I'm going to change my internet.
All right,
No
cheers,
problem,
Wayne. Get a new internet. Deactivate the old one.
No,
I've made this point a few times. I'm going to say thank you first of all to GHK for the £5 super chat. Thank you very much. Late to the stream, donation for being amazing people. There you go, everyone. You're all amazing. Thank you very much, GHK. But yeah, what were we talking about? I've lost my train of thought.
The blooming toilet police.
The toilet police. Oh yes, the toilet police.
Inspection.
Some of the trans exclusionary people that I've met who have been cis women don't look traditionally feminine. Like, I don't know how to put this in a diplomatic way, but, you know.
You mean they're raging dykes?
No, I mean, no, not like that at all. No, I mean, like, I don't care. Like, I think that you can look whatever way makes you happy. That is fine with me. And, you know, but I feel like a lot of these people who are very, very transphobic and going on and on and on about not letting trans people use the bathroom that they feel safest in. And I think you're just making it worse for yourself because you're going to get misgendered. You're going to get someone saying, I don't want you using this toilet because you don't look traditionally feminine. And this whole thing of gender and self identification and how you look, it shouldn't be an issue. It should be an issue if you commit a crime. If you don't commit a crime, it shouldn't be a problem.
Fear?
Yeah.
Do you think there's a fear there by
Of course.
you know, women who very feminist women who, I mean, the narrative now is, oh, it's guys who want to get off on wearing dresses and, you know, we're accommodating men. Everybody forgets trans men. Nobody
Oh, that
remembers.
conversation. Those people are not ready to have that conversation at all. Because in their ideology as being a feminist, they believe that a woman could be whatever the woman wants to be. So if they want to be a man, they could be a man. That's okay.
And yeah, Scott, to your point, until that's the problem. What we have now is this kind of wants to be a victim mentality.
Oh, Wayne, we're losing you. We've lost Wayne. Wayne, come back to us. Someone asked in the chat, Scott, if
no good, Wayne.
Someone asked if Scott had Wayne's internet, and that's what was the problem. Wayne, we can't hear you. I might have to mute Wayne because he
looks like he's been stuck his finger in a socket.
Do you know, one week I tried to mute Scott and I accidentally banned him off the channel.
Oh no.
It felt so bad.
But the rules of the toilet police make no sense because, you know, organizations are putting non-binary loos in and all gender loos in for the community. And then, you know, Kevin Bednock says, I don't want this non-binary all gender loos. We don't want that. Male and female loos. That's it. So they don't, even if we were given a place and we were made to use them, they'd be jealous of how clean and how lovely our fluffy loos were. So they don't like that. Then, you know, then Steve Bartley goes, we're going to ban trans women using female wards, which is offensive, you know. But in a way, I was thinking, okay, private room, nice, it's gonna be good. Let's go with that. But they won't like that. They'll be pushing against that if we have a trans ward or a place that we can be with our community. They wouldn't like that either. So it's like, we don't want you in sport. We don't want you in tiddlywinks. We don't want you playing tennis.
Chess.
It's all about
chess is the new thing. Sorry, I don't know how far down my little ramble I got before I got cut off.
3 words.
3 words.
Cheers.
Start again.
No, it's fine. I'm literally like, this is how bad it is. I am by my front door because I'm nicking next door's Wi-Fi.
Oh yeah,
nice one.
Well
That's
done,
what I call anarchy.
Viva la evolution, comrade. Smash the system. But go on, what were you going to say? What were you going to say, Wayne?
No, do you know what? I was so far down and ran. I wasn't even looking at the screen, so I don't know if I went. It was just about it was just a thing with trans. It doesn't matter how accommodating you are, it can never be enough.
No, it's
for instance, like everyone goes on about, oh, you can't have a trans man going to the toilet, okay? I.e., disabled toilet. Everyone goes there.
But Wayne, how do you feel?
On gender.
Yeah, how do you feel about separate toilets and hospital wards for a minority, just from a historical point of view?
Segregation.
I feel that would be a little bit silly.
Yeah,
a
little bit like we're going backwards, maybe.
Yeah,
60 years.
Yeah, and also, where would they? Oh, as a mixed race guy, where would they put me?
Well, exactly. Well, this is a good point that was made about
next
trans
to me,
men.
Wayne. That's where they put. Yeah.
One drop, Wayne. One drop. You're screwed.
There's this amazing picture. It's from a New York fashion show that they did, and the only people who were in the fashion show were trans men. And there's a picture of them all together with the tops off, and they're all like 6-packs and muscle, 8-packs, 9-packs, and muscles and beards. And I'm like, if they went into a woman's toilet, they would be like, what? What are you doing?
By the way, Scott, we can see you Googling right now.
Oh, you know what though? Like, yeah, well, I've seen the photos. I've seen the photos.
But the whole thing is,
I always appreciate a good-looking man. There's no doubt about that. You know, doesn't matter.
but the whole thing
what's
is,
going on there, panties or pants or whatever.
but it is about, it's not really about exclude, it's about eradication. So yeah, move us into a separate ward. That's a horrible thing to do. But if they did that, they'd still complain. Yeah, drive us to a third loo. That's a horrible thing to do. But if that's what ended up being the law, they'd hate that. You know, it's like it started like the Gender Recognition Act. It was like, we just don't want self-ID. We're happy with the Gender Recognition Act, but they've way past that. They want that gone as well. They want the Equality Act gone, or sex added to the equality. It's always about whatever sport you think of, a sport that trans people do. They want you. They want you a chess. They want you eradicated from it. They don't want you.
No. Let's get rid of chess. Let's go mainstream. Darts,
snooker.
Going back, Wayne, going back to the racial point, this is where it all intersects. When we talk about trans people in sports, a lot of cis women have been excluded from sports. And do you know what's really interesting? They've all been black. It's almost as though what is regarded as a woman by the sports bodies around the world is actually what's regarded as a white woman.
Well, if you go back to certain sports like athletics and all that sort of stuff, the most famous case was that South African lady who suffered from polycystic ovaries, which meant she naturally produced testosterone. Naturally produced testosterone, right?
She's a woman.
But she's a woman in every kind of genome that they want to put in place.
She naturally didn't produce as much estrogen and progesterone. She produced just as much testosterone as any other woman. There were just fewer female hormones to counterbalance it.
Yeah. So basically, she was existing as herself, and because she had this particular characteristic, she was disqualified or considered a cheat in that particular category. Which is deemed by men. Let's face it.
Well, the fact is that a lot of trans people in sport will tell you that, if there is an advantage, we're happy to be handicapped in sport. If there's a scientific proof that we have an advantage, but the science is saying more and more that we don't, because, I was on estrogen, I lost all my muscle mass, I lost my concentration. I just, a lot of my concentration, I'm not as good at sport as I was. And I did a lot of sport when I was before. There are the challenges. And we need more science on that. But this has never been about fairness, because before 2016, trans people have been in the Olympics for years. Nobody was talking about this. And this is just part of the trans people in hospitals, trans people in single-sex spaces, trans people in employment, trans people. This is just a battleground of exclusion. This isn't about fairness. It never was. And it doesn't matter what sport it will be. Trans people are happy for the science. We're waiting for the science, and if it says we have a slightly competitive, well, then give me a handicap. But we don't know.
Or have divisions like they do in boxing. Depending on your muscle mass and your testosterone levels, estrogen levels, whatever you decide to make that band, because that would make it better for everyone. So that 100%, tennis players who are 4'5" aren't playing against Serena Williams. Do you know what I mean?
The thing is, the only people who should be having these conversations are functionaries in sports federations. And the rest of us, none of our business. Right?
And to your point, the functionaries in those federations are middle-aged white men.
Absolutely, and that's what I'm saying. It was what I was about to say. Is there's enough unconscious bias there to fill a bucket as well, but it's there job. And if we want them to reconsider and to consider the science differently or to consider fair access differently, it is them we have to talk to.
Yeah.
But not your keyboard warrior on Twitter who goes, oh,
yeah, and the number of anti-trans groups that give evidence.
Yeah.
That
I've just got to
don't
stop
even have
for a
skin
second.
in the game.
I've just got to stop for a second. Sorry, Rachel. Yeah, Tinkinator, thank you very much for the super chat. Woo! Hi all. Do you think the rhetoric from Labour recently on fiscal and immigration policy shows that the party has pivoted to conservatism in some ways? Do you think this will continue in years to come? I'll just take that for a moment, just to do a little bit of a side quest. I think that Labour are doing what they need to do to get elected. That's all I see at the moment. And they know there's 170 billionaires on this island with us, right? And they are all conservatives. They have an almost unlimited amount of money to spend on political campaigns. And
unlimited power!
They're walking this tightrope of keeping us lot on board, us progressives who are normal and don't want to, make everything horrible for everyone always. But also, they don't want to scare the billionaires. The billionaires aren't going to vote for them, but they don't want to scare them into funding the Tory party into another term in office. Because if whatever you feel about Jeremy Corbyn, he scared the Tories and the people who are funding the Tories to giving them more money and more power out of fear of this guy becoming leader of the country. It was more to do with fear than anything else. So yeah, I hope not. I'm going to say I don't think it's going to continue past the election. I hope it's not going to continue past the election. But if it does, let me be quite clear. We here on this channel will make damn sure that we hold them to account and say, hey, dickhead, what are you doing? This is not what we want from the Labour Party.
I fear what's going to happen in the next 18 months is going to be Labour Trump coalition.
A Labour Trump coalition?
As in like Labour will get in, let's face it, because we've had 14 years of absolute torrid bullshit from the Tories. So
it's putting it mildly.
So Starmer's a shoo-in. In the States, Trump is a shoo-in. That's what I worry about.
Don't say that, mate.
No, it really is.
I'm worried about Trump, and Jesus Christ, can the Democrats not find another candidate?
Yeah,
find someone.
Oh my God, Cosi.
Come on.
There's 330 million people in the United States of America. How can they not find someone? They've got celebrities that people love. Clooney,
very much could.
George Clooney.
Right, I'm putting this all on Scott because
it's all Scott's fault. He's lived in the UK since the signing of the Magna Carta, but it's all his fault.
Yeah.
Coming over here with your American accent.
Can I just drag you back? I want to say something about you mentioned immigration and Labour on immigration.
Yeah.
I know one thing. Labour care about human rights.
Yeah,
they might not care about a lot of other things, but they will respect human rights. And in a way, that's where we have them. The current immigration legislation that we have does not respect human rights. Human rights are being abused by the UK every single day. Not just the human rights of immigrants, but also the human rights of British citizens who have the audacity of falling in love with some stinking foreigner. Oh, goodness no.
How dare you?
How dare you indeed. And as of April, only the top 25% of earners will be able to afford that luxury of falling in love with a foreigner. So, 75% of the population can't meet the minimum income requirement. That's where we're at. Now, the Tories have gotten away with that kind of immigration policy for far too long. Don't get me started on the EU settlement scheme. Because you'll never get me off that.
There's a couple of videos if you'd like to watch with me and Cosi talking about the settlement scheme. So if you Google if you go into this channel, you'll be able to find it. in podcast.
You will find them.
Okay.
And in fact, Graham, do you know what? It is 5 years ago this week since I applied. I just had it come up on my
really
memories and stuff
so
like that.
you're originally from Germany, aren't you, Cosi? And you've
I
lived
am
in
a
the
citizen
UK
of Germany.
Yeah,
yes.
I remember that video.
So I'm
I
one
do
of those
remember
stinking
watching it.
migrants. I'm Johnny Foreigner. How dare I?
I'm like
I've
a
lived here
Scouser,
twice
though.
as long as in Germany.
Cosi, are you gonna at this point are you gonna apologise for the war or?
Jesus Christ, Wayne.
My great grandmother was quarter Jewish, so I think not.
No.
Oh, you're all right. You're all right. Oh, you're one of the all right ones.
I'm really sorry about the Football World Championship 1978
Oh.
1992. I deeply apologise.
You monster! You monster!
But thing is, though, it gets worse. It gets worse. I was just watching earlier on because I'll just on it around, see if there's any. I watched a bit of a Home Affairs Select Committee, mate, and they were talking to the new anti-slavery commissioner.
Oh God! Who is it?
I've forgotten her name now, but
it don't matter. But I better say sorry.
Oh, but she was saying that from this each year onwards, her funding will be cut by 5% each year, and also said that Dame Diana Johnson asked her, says, "How many members of staff have you got at the moment?" She's just started. She says, "1." She said 1. And she says, "Well, how many do you hope to have?" She says, "Well, I'm going to try and push for more funding, and I'm hoping to get about 30." And Dame Diana Johnson just looked and she says, "So you're saying that funding is going to be cut 5% each year?" And she went,
"That's someone's salary, 5% each year."
Yeah, and she also, they have to fund their own computers as well.
Oh, it's a nonsense.
But then, you know, again, coming back to the immigration system, we have an immigration system that facilitates homegrown slavery. Look up the hashtag homegrown slavery. There's a wonderful organization called Migrants at Work out there who support migrants who are finding themselves in the same kind of situations as essentially slaves, as indentured workers. They are recruited to the UK on a contract. Their employers pay for their visa fees. They demand that money back, so they take it out of their wages. We have literally people working in care homes and their take home is a tenner a week, because so much money is taken out of their pay packet for accommodation, for transport, for all sorts of crazy things.
Yeah, and look where those particular people come from. Normally ethnic minorities.
They're all from communities of colour.
It's like the amount of times I see sort of like young African women tending for someone who's like disabled, and they're in a uniform, and then they have to get in their car with their colleague and then go to the next job, and they're not getting paid for that time, by the way. They're not getting paid for that time during jobs.
Oh, Wayne, I've told you the story before. My dad's got dementia, terminal dementia, and he was put on palliative care back in 2020. So he's been on palliative care for a long time now. This was in the autumn. This was just before the second lockdown. And all of his carers, all of them are either from, they're either South Asian or they're from Africa. They'll either be Ghanaian or from Nigeria.
Yeah.
And when people were coming to the house and they'd just been to, see another 10 people who they have to look after, and they have to see each person 4 times a day. And they were given nothing, Wayne. They were given no masks. They weren't being given tests to see if they had COVID. They weren't given any PPE whatsoever.
No,
and there was a young woman who came to the house and she had one of the face visors on. And I said, "Did they give you that?" She said, "No, I had to buy it myself." They had to buy their own PPE. And they were going from vulnerable old person to vulnerable old person. And after a week, just 1 week of the palliative care coming round, I got COVID, my dad got COVID, and my mum got COVID. And it's, you know, it's a bit of a miracle that he's still with us, to be honest with you, because, you know, so many older people died as a result of that.
Yeah.
And we know what happened in the care homes, but this wasn't even in the care homes. This was in people's own houses.
That goes to show how when it comes to sort of the capitalist way, we really don't give a monkeys about racial things. It's how cheap we can get people to do stuff. So basically what we've done is we've still got slavery, we've just kind of like rebranded it.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
So we'll get the darkies in, and they can do what they like, you know. We'll pay them peanuts and we'll be all right. It's disgusting, and it winds me up, because the amount of times I see like these poor people that are infirm being walked down the street with a young African lady of African origin. Let's be politically correct on that front. And I'm thinking, you're on minimum wage, and the next thing you're doing is going to look after the next person, and you're not getting paid any more for traveling between jobs. You're not getting paid anything else, or you're not appreciated in any way, shape, or form. You're just doing it because you're there. That's it.
I've got to say, Wayne, they've all been really wonderful. Like, they are so kind and generous, and
absolutely beautiful,
really cheerful in a way that I would not be cheerful if I had to do that job.
Yeah.
And it's nice that people want to do this job, but pay them properly, give them PPE, give them the kit they need, and probably pay them if they're going from one job to the next.
Well, when my nan and granddad came over in the 60s, they basically were the archetype West Indian family. My nan was a nurse, and my granddad was a bus driver, and it was like basically we're gonna pull these people in from the old country, if you like. My grandparents are from Montserrat, which is a British territory. Brought them in, did a job, and it seems that we are still using that kind of same mentality today.
Yeah,
we are bringing people in from these countries that are not as well off, but we're going to pay you absolutely nothing. You might be beautiful people, but we're not going to treat you the same as what we would consider normal people.
Yeah,
because
Wayne, you're absolutely right, and it's one of the reasons is that these are private companies. They're for-profit companies that are being paid by the taxpayer to do this job that could be done by the NHS care team, but it's not. It's a private company doing this, and they're making a lot of money out of it for not the people doing it, but for the shareholders who we have to, bow down to. Just before we go on, sorry, Cosi, I'll come back to you in a sec. Just before we go on, there's been a few super chats come in. So first of all, thank you very much to GHK again, saying everything is more polarized: fear, anger, votes, which is true. Because if people, this is quite interesting actually, because people like us are probably just engaged in politics anyway, because it's something that we find interesting and something that we feel has an impact on our lives. A lot of people don't care about politics, and I go on about this quite a lot on this channel. Like, they're the people just don't give a shit about politics. It's boring. It's like trying to get someone who doesn't like football to talk about the football. They'll be like, I don't know anything about it. I just don't care. But if you make them scared, if you make them angry, then they take an interest. And Brexit is a really good example of that, and Trump is a really good example of that.
Yeah,
and the transphobia that we've been seeing over the last few years.
That's how I got into politics, because honestly, my whole life, I'm 57, and
wow, you don't look it.
I'm Connor MacLeod of the Clan MacLeod, I wasn't interested in politics at all. Politics was how much is petrol and how much is wine, and that was all it was. But when they started,
showing our white privilege, there we are, Rachel.
Yeah, we are.
No,
that is a white
Rachel,
privilege thing.
As soon as you said how much is wine, I was like, how much have I got left?
but it, but then, it started to affect my friends and me. And suddenly they started to talk about my rights and my safety. And suddenly, this is why I'm saying that all LGBT people are becoming campaigners, because hang on a minute, what are you doing? Government's meant to be boring. You're meant to run the damn country and do it well and fuck off. But they're not. They are union busting. The thing today, you're not allowed to wear masks when you protest. Trans people have to wear masks when we protest because gender critics take pictures of us and stick them all over our websites and put us at risk. So we have to, this is really, really, getting rid of employment rights, getting rid of protest. They're getting rid of the European Court of Human Rights so that we have less rights coming out of the European rights. So it's all about, we want to be out there earning path. We want to get rid of, it's like that second ship in the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy that crashes into Earth. They want to get rid of all that. They want the thinkers. They want the, they want they want the rich people and they want the doers, and they don't want the doers to have very much. And that's what they're trying to create. And that is, everybody's affected. More, obviously, as Wayne says, more for some others than others, but it is all, everybody's becoming affected. Unless you have gone to one of Graham's famous schools, or you are connected, or you have wealth.
Hey, they're not my schools. I just make a list of it.
Graham, they are your schools.
Just the ones you have a bee in your bonnet about.
Yes. Over 825 names on the list so far. I'm hoping to try and make it 1,000 names on the list by the end of the year. But before we come on to that, Lee Corn, thank you so much for the 2 super chats. First of all, saying every week there is a UK-based EU citizen kicked out or blocked from returning to the UK because of settled status. You and Cosi should interview some of them. Cosi, if you're up for that, I'm up for that.
Sure.
Yeah, let's do that.
Sure, there's plenty of them to go around. Let's face it.
Yeah, we'll get them on Zoom and we'll have a chat about just how shit things have become in this country. Shit and stressful. Unless you're rich. If you're rich, none of this affects you. None of this affects you. And the other super chat, thank you very much, it's Lee Corn again. My wife stresses fuck at Calais passport control. Cosi, do you still have your German passport? Or did you have to give that up?
No. I never naturalized in the UK. I'm not a British citizen. I'm a German citizen. I have settled. I'm on settled status. I don't have citizenship. So they can still be
Graham, get your pitchfork. I'll get the torches.
Bloody foreigners.
Drive her out.
But I wanted to, because we were talking about the immigration system and why are care companies recruiting from Africa and Southeast Asia rather than training British people to do these jobs? Part of the reason is because under the points-based immigration system, they can pay migrants up to 20% less than the going rate for British citizens. So that's why it's all about the bottom line.
There you go. Thank you so much for highlighting that, because
and if you think Windrush was a scandal and big, oh boy, just wait and see what's coming with the USS. It'll be Windrush on steroids with knobs on.
What's this?
EUSS. Look, how many people? So we've got some nearly 3 million, 2.5 million people who have pre-settled status.
Okay, sorry. When you said EUSS, I was like, what was this?
I thought
it was like the EUSSR.
You're talking about the African nations that are not in any kind of agreement, and also like the Philippines and Malaysia, those kind of regions where we are recruiting people where we can get away with not paying them as much as we should be able to pay them. And then in a few years' time, when it all comes out, we'll be like, oh, really? Oh, that's so sad. Oh.
Yeah. Well, thing is, if they can't make the minimum income requirement, or if they get sick or anything like that, they just have to go back home again.
Yeah.
Fuck off back where you came from. That's and that is literally enshrined in the system. You know, they have NRPF, they have to pay the NHS surcharge, which as of 2 days ago has gone up to over £1,000 a year.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
And you know, you have to pay that for the duration of your visa in advance. So your visa tends to be either for 3 years or for 5 years.
Right. So to be fair, like, what you're describing is a scandal that no one wants to talk about because it's helping our old white pensioners.
Oh God.
No, because it affects migrants and nobody gives a rat's.
No, but what I'm saying is like the people that are benefiting from it are
you're right.
old white pensioners. So we don't want to talk about that. We just put it over there.
Well,
and then when it comes out,
we don't want to talk about if we don't import the labor to wipe the, you know, to look after these old white pensioners, we might have to wipe their bums.
There you go.
And we don't want to do that.
That won't happen. They just will go without being looked after. That's the worry. And you've got an aging population, a population that is either going to get cancer or going to get dementia. That they're your two options pretty much on the way out these days. We've cured all the rest.
You see, Graham, there's the scandal. There is the actual scandal. But no one wants to talk about it because it affects old white people. That's it.
But we need to address this because it's disgraceful that if you are diagnosed with cancer, you get the support that you need and deserve. That's right. Well, actually, no, you don't, because you have to wait over 60 days to get a diagnosis if you're not going private, or if you're not King Charles. But then you've got people who get dementia and they can either go to some horrible, squalid home if they can't be treated in their own home. They have to go to some horrible state home, or they can go to the nice place down the road, which is $2,000 a week. For as long as they survive. That is, and they'll only give you the state care when you're on palliative care. So when they know that you've reached that point that a doctor decides that you're going to die soon, that's when the NHS kicks in. And even for the old white people, that's shit. Do you know what I mean? Like the Tories have made it shit for trans people, black people, white people, old people, young people. They've made it shit for everyone.
But do you remember when it came to a head and it was Theresa May who was in stewardship at the time, when she turned around and said, dementia care, you basically need to sell your house to pay for dementia care. And everyone lost their shit. We spent all this money like paying all that, like taxing all our life and all that fucking, and now we've got to save for paying for dementia. It's like, well, yeah. What do you think everyone else is doing?
Well, they're not being able to pay it, and they're having to use the state homes. We need a root and stem reform of the care system in the UK so that everyone gets a great 100%. Level of care. That's it. 100%. No matter your ethnic background, your sexuality, your gender.
Bring back fucking council-run homes for the elderly. That's what you need to do.
With proper funding.
Yeah, absolutely. But the Tories were going to do something like that, weren't they? They were going to some sort of national insurance for your retirement, and they U-turned on it. A U-turn.
A Tory U-turn. That never happens.
Yeah, never happens in the Conservative Party, but there was a U-turn. So that went when I think Boris binned it. He started it and then binned it, didn't he?
Of course he did. He got fucking nobbled. Listen, old chap, you can't do that.
Just before we go on, I've got a few super chats to get through and then we'll come back to Wayne. First of all, we got a super chat from number 3 pointing out that George Orwell went to Eton. Unbelievable. I know, disgraceful. Richard.
Right in your head, Graham, you must be exploding, right?
How very dare he? No,
when he went to
there's a
Burma
big...
that he had his epiphany and realized that this is no way to treat human beings.
Yes, so he did actually have empathy, which is quite rare, I think, for people who go to Eton. But anyway, we're not going to go into that. Richard has dropped £5 in the super chat fund. Thank you, Richard. Saying I was going to send you £28 billion, but had to water it down due to my financial rules, which I quite like. And questionable absanity. Thank you very much for the super chat. In London, the air quality is permanently at a level where an FFP2 or higher rated mask is technically required by the WHO. So this could be a test case. And that's talking about wearing masks when you go out protesting.
I've got to say,
So is that on the basis of the pollution level? Nothing to do with your health condition or anything like that.
I think it's just pollution in London is just insane. So you live on the
I've
path to
got to say, someone who drives in London very regularly, the way that they've congested everyone onto the South and North Circular, you are congesting all of the air pollution in one bit.
Yeah,
it's absolute bollocks. This whole thing that Mayor Khan is doing, don't get me wrong.
Are you an anti-you, Lezza? Are you running around?
It's you breaking the cameras. Are you
breaking the cameras, Wayne? Is it you and Lawrence Fox creeping out in the middle of the night with an angle grinder?
I couldn't give a fuck about the cameras. I don't pay it. But
no one does. This is like 95% of Londoners will not ever have to pay this. It's people from the home counties. It's Tories coming into London in their big old Chelsea tractors who are whinging about this.
I'm Essex massive, right? I drive in.
Darren's fucked off. Darren's gone.
You know what really upsets me is the people that complain about it. Usually, as you said, don't live in London, and also they are well off and will use.
Just sneeze, God damn it!
Just get out, get
it out.
Better than in.
I was saying that the other day. But yeah,
so what upsets you is people who don't live in London. Thanks a lot for that, Scott. Metropolitan elite. This place would be great if it wasn't for all the people who don't live in London.
Oh my God, he's an American who survived the culture shock and knows how to do sweary hand gestures in English.
I love this. I absolutely love it.
With the accompanying face, I'm impressed, Scott.
I told you, he's been here since Magna Carta.
We've got an American living in fucking London. We've got a German living in the UK. We've got a snide Scouser living in fucking Durham.
in the northeast.
I'm Irish.
An Irish trans. Where are you, Rachel?
In southeast, down in Kent.
There you go. Right, an Irish trans.
Why is nowhere? Why is no one where they were born? You're supposed to stay within a 5 meter radius of the place of your birth.
Because human beings are a migratory species.
Yeah.
What? No, don't tell the Tories that. They'll chase up the tree and set fire to it.
We'd all still be in Africa.
Africa.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Africa is all our mother.
Yeah.
Listen to the fucking accent she's put on that as well. Africa.
I did actually used to have a Trinidadian accent because I used to live there.
You used to live in Africa. Where did you live? Did you live in Namibia?
Trinidad.
Southwest.
No, I never lived in Africa. I lived in the Caribbean.
Oh, right, okay. Caribbean, Cosi. We're not Americans here. Caribbean.
Caribbean.
Did you meet any Caribs while you were over there? No, because we wiped them all out.
No, because they were all, no, there were some Arawaks still left in Trinidad, but
just
no
about.
Caribs.
Yeah, no Caribs. Wipe them out. Anyway, number 3, thank you very much for the super chat, your second super chat of the night, for saying we need a radical overhaul of the entire system. We've got about 20 minutes left of the show. Have we got time to go through everything that we need to overhaul?
Well, we need PR. We need a written constitution. We need to overhaul the NHS and the care system.
Yeah.
We need fair taxation.
Press regulation, so you can't lie.
Oh, yeah. Anti-corruption.
Anti-corruption, huge. Yeah. The aqueduct.
Yeah.
You
The-
what?
The aqueduct.
Yes.
I've missed something.
What has the Romans ever done for us?
Oh, okay.
There is a lot to do. We need PR. We need UBI. We need universal basic income. Our society is going to fall
100%.
apart without it in the next 10 years because AI is going to do a lot of the grunt work that no one wants to do anyway. And we need to have a situation in which people can live the life they want to live.
100%. 100%. And Rachel, as a fellow Trekkie, you must be advocating for that as well.
Absolutely. Why not? I think
There you go.
I think
Star Trek Utopia.
I always like, Picard, we come from, we don't have income anymore. We work to better ourselves.
Yes.
And it's that whole, it's more of a leisure life now, and we educate ourselves and we join Starfleet and better the universe. That's Starfleet. Why everybody, a lot of trans people like Star Trek because it is a vision of the future that we love. It's a vision that everybody should love. Star Wars I like. I'm not just going to quickly say that before I get assassinated. But Star Trek.
I like both. I like both. I like dogs and cats. I like tea and coffee. But what can I say? I'm only here once. Just enjoy it all. Right. It's not either or. It's not a zero-sum game.
Graham is our commander data.
Yeah.
He needs a ginger cat called Spot.
Yeah.
And he needs to learn how he is.
Yeah.
No, because Data, right, was basically Pinocchio, wasn't he? Because he wants to be a real boy.
Yes.
And a lot of the things in the first couple of series of Star Trek Next Generation were robbed from other sci-fi shows or other TV shows. So the Borg were totally robbed from the Cybermen from Doctor Who. The evil version of Data who kept on going on about the fact that he was the prototype.
Did the Borg come before the Cybermen?
No, the Cybermen were around in the 1960s.
Were they?
For 2 decades by then, yeah.
70s.
Oh, the only time I saw them was with David Tennant. So
no, they've been around.
You're a David Tennant newbie, are you? Oh, bless you.
Yeah, well, I didn't grow up with it because I didn't grow up in the UK.
Get yourself a Tom Baker scarf.
No,
in America.
Sorry, no. I've seen a couple of episodes.
All right, we're gonna do a little pop quiz, right? So in Star Trek, there's a character called Data who's a robot, and he has an evil brother,
Android.
An evil older brother who goes on about the fact that he's the original prototype, and that Data is an inferior production model. What TV show of the 80s was that storyline ripped from? That's what I want to know. An inferior production model.
TV show.
Was it another sci-fi?
It wasn't really sci-fi.
Guardians of the Galaxy.
Okay. I will go.
Knight Rider. Lee's got it. Lee's got it in the chat.
Knight
Rider. Kit, the car, had a twin brother called Car, who was the prototype, who was evil and tried to kill him.
and had an orange.
Now Cosi must have loved Knight Rider because Dave von Hasselhoff, very big in Germany.
Oh, I did. I do remember watching Knight Rider. I just never watched that episode with the evil car.
The evil car. It was called Car. C-A-R-R.
K-A-R-R.
Yeah, K-A-R-R. Knight automobile roving robot.
No, I missed that one.
And it was driven by Thingy Sebastian from.
And he was silver.
Was he? No, I thought he looked the same. I thought he had different colour light or something.
He was silver.
Data
was painted.
Spot was green originally.
Was he?
In the very first pilot, they contemplate, but that I think that went out the window very quickly.
Too long to do.
It was too hard to do.
You've basically taken the lid off a nerdgasm.
Everyone in the chat is like Knight Rider, Red Dwarf, Kit and Kat, we've got Farscape and Babylon 5, Doctor Who, Twilight Zone, Forbidden Planet.
Well, let me just share with Rachel. Rachel, my favorite Next Generation episode is Darmok.
Oh, yeah. Why is that? Why do you like that?
I don't know. Maybe because my degree is in ancient history and archaeology. So it's first of all, it's the connection to Gilgamesh and Enkidu, which are ancient Mesopotamian stories. But But it's the whole language thing. I'm a linguist as well, so it's that whole idea.
Oh, really? Okay.
What, how do we communicate and how do we use language, and how, you have to have cultural points of reference. The story of that one is that the language used by this alien species references stories in everything.
Wow.
And if you don't know the story, you can't understand the language.
Monarch, when the walls.
So,
Yes.
as I can identify at least 3 other Trekkies in this conversation.
I like Stargate as
Guilty
well.
as charged. So
don't get me. I'm a massive Stargate nerd.
I like the movie Stardust. That's pretty good as well.
Shut up, Graham. No one wants your opinion.
Remember that.
But when it comes to the latest iterations of Star Trek, so you've got Discovery, you've got Picard, and the other movies that are
with the Voyages of, or whatever it's gone, the new one with Pike.
What are your favourites? What are your favourites?
It's like Sophie's Choice. That is really. I mean, it's like like somebody asked me once, what is your favourite Star Trek captain? On an interview once, and it took me about an hour to
say Picard.
Well,
I would probably plumb for Picard, but there's a lot to be said for Janeway, and there's
now he talks for her now.
I would say Picard, and then Cisco post beard.
Yeah.
Does anyone want to talk about how the last the movie, the Marvel movie Avengers Endgame stole its entire plot from the Star Trek Voyager final episode, which was also called Endgame, in which Janeway went back in time to fix the thing that fucked up everything in the first place.
But Janeway's
sacrificing herself in the process.
The thing where she shit the bed and went, I might have fixed that.
Yeah, I'm gonna go back in time and fix that. But no, Cosi, you pointed out Gilgamesh. I love Gilgamesh. Gilgamesh is a really fascinating legend, and it is probably the oldest story that we know of, isn't it, in the Western canon?
We have in
Persia.
In that complexity as well. That much of.
And the thing that you need to know about Gilgamesh, the most important thing you need to know about Gilgamesh, is that he was gay. So the first protagonist of the first story that we have that exists on this planet, he's
a gay guy.
Yes, like the new Doctor Who.
Yeah.
Nothing new under the sun.
You mean the black fella?
Yeah, Kuti Gatwa. He's brilliant. I've said this before. I want to go clubbing with him. Never mind going, around the universe in a box.
He's fabulous.
I fucking hate the fact that has to be a thing.
Yeah.
The black fella.
Oh, come on. He was a Rwandan refugee. What a brilliant person to be actually
but
playing Doctor Who.
It was like the BBC employed Jodie, who was a female Doctor Who. What? Who gives a fuck? The only people that give a fuck are the people that are getting angry about this nonsense. I hate it.
No, but I love it because it upsets people who are prejudiced. It upsets people who are bigoted. So the more they lean into it, the better.
The test on that is
I think that's a good enough reason to do it. And you know what? There was a time when people would have objected to a Scottish Doctor Who or a Scottish anything,
But the test still is the benchmark.
We're moving on.
Would you accept a female Bond?
Yes.
Yeah.
Especially if she was played by if you saw the latest Bond film.
If she was played by Idris Elba.
Well, Idris Elba would be great. No. What's her name? The Ana de Anais or whatever. Oh God, what is her name? She played the Cuban agent when they were in the bar and they were killing people and then having a drink.
Yeah.
Oh, I want her to play Bond. Like a Latino Bond.
Yeah.
I'd watch that. I'd watch that until the cows came home.
That's another stereotype, like Latina. Like she's Latina, she's double R'd. I just want like some demure fucking Swedish girl being Bond.
Sweden? You're putting Swedish and demure in the same sentence? I mean, Japanese. Okay, I'll go for it.
but completely like
Looking
out
and then
of
pulling
the.
out a sword rather well.
After the last Bond film, I was chatting to Catherine, my partner, and I said, "Do you know what I was really like, since we're going to reset the whole thing now and it's going to start again? Set it in the 60s, do a Mad Men, make it so it's it's pastiche of the old spy genre of the 1960s with modern graphics, modern effects, and he can be sexist. He can be and we can use that in the same way.
Time.
Yeah, we can use that in the same way that Mad Men showed. Like, you watching Mad Men going, God, everyone's smoking. Everyone's so horrible. And it makes you think about like how far we've come. I think that's what set the books in the time that they were intended for. Just before we go on, I just want to shout out to Puninator for the £5 super chat. Really appreciate that, mate. Thank you. Off topic, but who does everyone think will be Tory leader post-election? I think Braverman, unfortunately. I'm thinking Bad Enoch.
Bad Enoch. Sadly. But
pretty.
Do you think that will lead them to do what the Tories did after the 1997, like just getting smashed? Because they just went from leader to leader, didn't they? From one unpopular leader, William Hague, and then they had Ian Duncan Donuts, and then they should burn for Michael Howard for a week, something of the night about him.
I think they've basically realised that whatever happens, it's a poison chalice, and to take that mantle at this particular time would mean that you're going to get all of the ridicule, all of the fucking hate, all of the chastisement. So why would you want to do it? So it would take someone with like some serious fucking ego to go there.
You've met Kemi then.
Do you know what? I could see Gove having a go.
No.
Govey.
No chance. Not a chance.
Don't think so.
Not until it's okay to be Tory. Do you know what I mean?
What about Braverman, or not mad enough yet?
Oh, I don't think. Yeah.
I think she's ambitious enough and vicious enough.
Yeah.
I would say Kemi, because she's kind of like riding on the coattails of like your likes of Candace Owens.
Yeah.
And
I see that.
I find it very hard to believe, though, that the Conservative Party would have a woman of color leading them.
Yeah, because it will be the membership that votes.
Yeah, I still won't rule out Truss. I still won't rule out Truss.
Really?
Back. Oh, no.
She's very canny. She's very canny.
Might go for her. You've got a point there.
She started this new little faction, hasn't she?
The
popcorn artists.
Yeah, because I said, remember when after Boris left, and they were all coming up, I'm going to put my name forward, and I showed him. I says, if Liz Truss puts her name forward, if she gets in top 2, she'll win it. And my wife looked at me as if I'd 6 heads, 5 eyes, and 2 mouths, as if I were lost my mind.
Right.
And because I could tell, I do venture into the conservative home now and again, and they love her. They're in love with her, because you see her with all these great deals that she's just rolled over. Remember that uncomfortable chair that Ozzy negotiator had to sit in, and got everything he wanted.
I think that Kemi Badenoch and Suella Braverman and Priti Patel as well.
I really can't stand her.
Are people who, because they are from an ethnic minority, they make people who are racist and bigoted feel okay about the fact that they are racist and bigoted. Because they're like, oh, but I like that one. I like Frank Bruno. Frank Bruno, he's all right, he's okay.
He's all right.
He's all right. But it's just the rest of them.
I fucking hate that. And that's where, as someone from an ethnic minority, I hate so much. So fucking much. Oh, you're a posh brown, are you? You're a posh brown, right? I've got something to say against you. I'm a racist. Fuck you, prick.
Yeah.
Just I can't stand them. Can't stand them because what they do is they become placeholders, and they will be put out in front of like anyone that wants to sort of like denigrate what you're saying. Oh, we can't be racist because look, this one here. I'm like, yeah, that one there is by your choosing.
But that's the thing as well. It's supposing that these racists, if they got what they wanted, they would spare these people, and they wouldn't. You know,
no, absolutely not. Absolutely not.
There were Nazis in the 1930s who had good
put
friends
in the
who were
small
Jewish.
of their back and just
yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, that's what they did. And the Nazis would say to their Jewish friends, "Oh no, not you, not you." Yeah. In the same way that the people say about refugees, or some people say, you know, about gay people, trans people, lesbians, whoever. Not you. I don't mean you. Get rid of all these EU motherfuckers. Get them out the country. Oh, not you, Cosi. Not you.
Oh, I've been there. Right. Oh, but we didn't mean you. Well, you sure as hell meant somebody. Yeah. Just like me. But you know what? I mean, because you were referencing the Nazis there. There were quite a lot of Jews that were fairly high up in the NSDAP and that you know, achieved quite high rank also in the Wehrmacht and so on. And that's because of their personal connections. So even as a Jew in the Third Reich, you could almost whitewash yourself, or you could become whitewashed if you had the right connections.
Yeah.
But there's a famous quote, and I think
if you've got the money, you can hide it from people.
In nowadays, it's very much about the money, but in those days, not necessarily. So there's a famous quote, and I think it's attributed to Goebbels, which is, "I decide who is a Jew."
Yeah, yeah.
If you are useful to me, then your skin color doesn't matter.
You're Jewish enough.
But I was going to mention this, because someone talked about, to come back to Rachel, about how now being trans in the UK in 2024 is becoming a lot like being gay in the 1960s.
Yeah, it is.
Except there is one big difference now, and this, with trans and people and with gay people, you could pretend not to be gay. You know, you could get married. You could, you know, not act gay. Whereas if you are trans, it is very difficult to not look trans. To not be trans.
True.
That's true.
I'm a little bit dubious of that kind of statement, in the sense of like Rachel can just be who they are, right? And walk down the street and there's no hiding. But then there's other people that are trans but have to hide.
Yeah, but they can't.
Me being a brown geezer,
I
can't really hide that.
Yeah, well, Wayne, my point was going to be like that. You equate that with people who are an ethnic minority because you can't hide it.
I can hide it.
It's there.
I can get myself a wife. I can, you know, I can pretend that maybe I'm just a little fae. You know what I mean? And that I'm actually straight geezer, you know, and
Scott, you cannot fucking hide it from me.
Wait, I don't want to hide it from you. You're hiding it from me, honey.
Fucking
You've been hiding it from me. Send me photos, goddammit.
Listen, my cousin came out at the tender age of 50, and the only people surprised were himself and his mother. The rest of us knew all along. But he was
were
like,
friends with Liberace?
He was married, and you know, and it was like,
government-wise, I could hide. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah. I
could get a wife. I could produce.
That was the point I was trying to make.
Yeah.
That's why it's different. It is different. And but you've got this intersectionality of groups. If you pick a group and start marginalizing that group, the knock-on effect to other groups is they become more marginalized.
And the more characteristics, you know, trans woman, black trans woman, disabled black trans woman, the more characteristics you pick up, the worse it gets in this country. Well, pretty well every country, but and this current government, if you're disabled, they penalize you. If you're black, they penalize you. If you're trans, they just stack it on, and that's what really worries me.
Right, Rach, can I just ask a question? As a trans Trekkie, do you not find that, like, of all people, Trekkies should be the most like come here, like taking you to their breast and hugging you?
I am doing that virtual hug.
But I find the sci-fi anime Trekkie kind of people the most judgmental.
Well, do you know why?
They're really weird.
That's I mean, I think that's in every sci-fi, but Republicans in America, the ones at CPAC, think they're the bloody rebel force in Star Wars. They think they're the rebel alliance.
Really?
They think they're the rebels. You're the evil empire.
You're the empire.
You're not the rebels. We're the rebels.
Always accuse your enemy of which you are guilty.
Yeah.
Just quickly to the super chats. Thank you very much to GHK saying Darren Hal, Star Trek. Thank you very much for that. And David Faulkner saying Happy New Year for the Year of the Dragon. Peace in the Year of the Dragon.
Chinese New Year, yeah. Happy Chinese New Year.
Enjoy the 5 days holiday. Kung Hai Fat Choi and some Hong Kong dollars. Thank you very much, David Faulkner there. I will be having
David.
I'll be heading up to Newcastle on Sunday for some Chinese food and some bubble tea, probably. It's all good. It's all good here. Listen, it's 11 o'clock, so we're gonna have to wind up soon. But what we normally do before we wind up is we go around each panelist and talk about just one story that really stood out for you this week and talk about it a little bit. Obviously, Rachel, I can probably guess what your story is going to be, and we've already.
But I can flip to another one because we talked about Rishi and his transphobic comments. But I can.
Go on then.
Because I know it'll be somebody else's as well. But the bet on the £1,000 bet on putting immigrants on a plane. That story, what I thought was interesting, we were talking about empathy, and this really stuck with me. Okay, so he makes the £1,000 bet, and Piers went on to. I mean, I can't stand Piers Morgan, obviously, but he went on to talk about his mother on a trolley in a hospital, and how awful that was. And did you see Rishi's face? He was grinning like a cat. And he was like, "Hello." The guy, you could see it was like that like the guy in the other room comedian going, "No, stop smiling. Why are you smiling? Stop smiling." And you could see David.
I'd like to just interject on that. He was probably getting that in his ear.
Baby Spice there.
He was literally just staying in that state.
Yeah.
It wasn't intentional at all.
Why are you smiling? This is a sad story. Go sad. Yeah. Go sad.
He doesn't get it. He just doesn't. He does not.
I was shocked.
It's like he's just dropped down from heaven, like Mr. Bean drops down on the floor. At the beginning of each episode. With me.
I didn't think the next day was going to get worse, but that really stuck with me that day. That was the shock I had that day. You wrong emotion for the wrong story, Rishi.
Yeah, Scott, I'll move to you next because I did want to talk a little bit about Over the Pond, and we mentioned it briefly, but was there any news story this week that really stuck out for you?
Well, Biden doesn't know what he's talking about.
I know! Oh my God, what are we going to
do? Diplomats that are dead.
Wow!
Talking about world leaders that died.
Help!
He's getting a little muddled. He's not sure what's going on.
A. Thompson did a video about this. He said, you know how people get dead named where people use a name that they used in the past that isn't their name anymore? He does that for like politicians who are dead. Yeah. He's just dead name. He's just like, the president of France, Mitterrand. Yeah. Oh my God. What are we going to do, Scott? What are we going to do? Sort it out. All of America.
I'll be voting in the UK general election. But in regards to, because I don't have a property in America, you can only vote overseas if you have property or registered to an address, which I'm not. I do. I'm at a point now where it's starting to get really embarrassing, and I think they do need to find somebody else. We could maybe look at a Gavin Newsom, maybe a Michelle Obama,
Taylor Swift. Taylor Swift for president. Come on, let's do it. Let's go.
You know who I'd like? Do you know who I think would
Her
be
next era will be the presidential era.
Matthew McConaughey.
I'd like to see
George Clooney.
AOC.
Morgan Freeman, who's been old since forever.
But AOC would be awesome, right?
AOC would be incredible.
Yeah.
But she winds up the other side too much, I think.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that would be wonderful to see. But I think, maybe those sort of people. Was that guy that recently had cancer? The congressman.
Budetang?
I can't remember his name right now.
Raffenberger. Is it
Raskin.
Rassenberger, that's it.
Raskin.
Raskin, that's it.
Yeah, he's good. So it'd be people like that. I think we could put out maybe Kamala, but then again, I don't believe that America is ready to have a woman.
Oh no, you're breaking up, Scott. You know
president.
what's not ready? Your internet's not ready for a woman of colour.
You want to go over to Wayne's and sit next to his neighbour's house?
Yeah, go close to the
Seriously, I'm by my front door, so my Wi-Fi is that close.
I can come over, Wayne. That's no problem.
We've got another super chat in, guys. So this is thank you very much. This is from Ruth. Thank you very much, Ruth. Get a crowd together of at least one representative of who we are and do a TikTok dance thingy. I'm up for a TikTok dance thing. Darren is uploading his. Did you see that with Darren there? He was uploading a Specky game.
Yes.
That was great.
That?
He was putting Jet Set Willie on his
Whoa. Jet Set Willie, I think that's Toad.
What happened?
So,
what happened to your camera, Darren? I was about to come to Darren as well. And also questionable absanity. Thank you very much for the super chat. Woo! Would Harrison Ford still get Trump's vote? No. What? Oh no, because
you won't
get Trump's vote, but Harrison Ford hates Trump, so
Harrison Ford can't fucking land a fucking Mustang.
Harrison Ford is actually Indiana Jones.
Yeah. So Harrison Ford can't land at Mustang.
Okay. I was going to go to Darren next, but you can't see him, so I'm going to have to go to Cosi. Cosi, hi. What was your story of the week? You can do one that we've already done, but what was something that really stuck out for you?
This one would be the Italian gentleman who had submitted a valid application to the EU settlement scheme and still got deported. But
wow.
You know what? I'm going to lead with something else because it's not really news from this week, but it's something I only really engaged with this week. So there you go. And that's what's happening in Eastern Congo with the M23 rebels that are getting funded by Rwanda.
Yeah.
The safe
Rwanda's
country
going
that is
through a war
Rwanda.
With DRC. Yeah.
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 Fucking
this is happening.
The UN, Rwanda, of course, are denying it, but the UN is saying, no, it's you guys,
Yeah.
And
no, I've got
Darren, what are you putting up? I don't know how many thousands of people are internally displaced in Congo, but it's bad. It's really, really bad. And it's all
by the way, if we ever
there's nothing in our news media, nothing about it.
If we ever deport anyone to Rwanda, we have to take people refugees from the DRC who are in Rwanda right now in camps. I'm not going to say what type of camps, but refugee camps, apparently. Refugee camps where if you complain about the fact there's no food, they shoot you. Safe place, safe country that we've taken 6 refugees.
Yeah, because you can just legislate that a place is safe. Of course you can.
Yeah, just say it's safe and then it's safe. Christine Cash, thank you very much for the cash for the $5. Katie Porter for president. Katie Porter's the woman with the foot
she's good. Yes.
She comes with props. You're not allowed props in a British Parliament, but the American Parliament, you're allowed props.
Oh, she's the prop
she
queen.
Makes that most of it. She is absolutely fantastic. And Lee Funches is saying, Katie Porter, Katie Porter, Katie Porter. Seriously, check out really Katie Porter. So yeah, well worth a Google. We'll come to Wayne next. But Cosi, before we get to Wayne, there were two wars, the first Congolese War and the second Congolese War in the late 90s and early 2000s. And over 1 million people died in those wars. And it was barely covered in the news at all in the West. They barely mentioned it. But then there was an outbreak of Ebola in a Nigerian village, and that was something that could affect white people in some way. And that was all over the news for 3 weeks.
But once it had arrived in Europe, then it was all over the news.
But the Australian Prime Minister was eaten by a shark, and it didn't hit the papers here. You know it.
What? When that happened?
Yeah, it's in one of Bill Bryson's book. It was about what the Prime Minister went swimming, got eaten by a shark, got disappeared.
Oh, yeah. Well, he disappeared. We don't know if he was eaten by a shark.
Yeah, but Bryson said it was a shark.
Was it Holt?
And it didn't make the press here. I mean, that's pretty major.
He went for a swim and never came back, like a very inefficient Reginald Perrin. Wayne, you're up. What's your news story of the week?
My news story of the week is I hate to say these words in this arena. Tucker Carlson interviewed Putin.
Oh my God!
He's completely made up a new history that didn't exist. Yeah,
it was an absolute shit show. It was basically like, so, Mr. Putin, these are your bullocks. Let me just fondle them. Let me just.
Please let me chortle your balls.
Yes.
It was an absolute shit show.
Well, Wayne, me and Ollie, Bowler Hat Man, were talking today about doing a show where we actually just pick apart the interview. Would you like to be on that with us?
Oh, 100%.
Okay.
All day long.
All right, we'll do that. So this is Tucker Carlson, right-wing, ex-Fox News wankerman, who's gone over to Russia to sit with Vladimir Putin, who's a wanted war criminal, and basically, tickle his balls for 2 hours.
He basically got a visual cream pie. He was just doing this the entire time. It was just like, shower me with your lovely.
You're sounding more gay than me right now, Wayne. This
fascist bukkake. Okay, so before we ask,
to be fair, if Scott is saying I'm more gay than him, I'm doing a good job.
Get a couple of drinks in me, darling, and I'm anybody's. Right, okay, another super chat we've got is from GHK. Thank you very much, GHK. Safe place legislation, please make UK safe for all, which I absolutely agree with. No one should feel like they can't just live their lives. That should be the number one priority of any government, is to 100%. Make the population 100%. Feel safe. Not from fictional monsters that don't actually exist, but, from poverty, from ignorance, from disease, from old age.
We've got quite a diverse mix, haven't we? Tonight we've got quite.
Yes,
it's quite.
We're ticking all the boxes.
We're ticking all the diversity boxes, and no one filled out a form before we did this either. So let's go over to our resident Yorkshireman, Darren. What was your news story of the week?
I had a couple that I was just going to go with the Tucker Carlson one, but that was stolen.
Oh, that's been
there
taken.
Were two that
the other one.
Sorry.
Yeah, but there were two that stuck out for me. Was it's going to be. It was either the Laura Trott car crash interview.
Oh my God,
that was awful.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Who's heard of
that? Was a shit show.
Who's heard of the Tory MP, Laurie French? Tory MP for Old Bexley and Sidcup. They were doing a debate on trying to take knives, swords and knives off the streets and stuff like that. And Kim Ledbetter, you know, the
Labour MP.
Yeah, for sister of Joe Cox, and she did a really good conversation about a speech where she was talking about two families who in her constituency who's doing great work, and she's working with them because of knife crime, because of members of their family had been victims of knife crime and all that. And she could have quite easily talked about the experience about her and her family and what they've done. But no, it was, and then I've forgotten her name now. She's one of the deputy speakers. I've forgotten her name now. And she did a really nice glowing tribute, because it must have been difficult for her to do a speech about something like that after what's happened to her sister. Yeah. And then she went, Louis French, and then he went on. Then he did a bit of a nice tribute. He says, "Can I echo the sentiments of the speaker and all your bravery?" And then he went on a complete utter rant about lefty lawyers, walkies, and culture wars, and stop and search, and right up to hard-working family. And in between, this was supposed to be a debate about, you know, cross party people, you know, how we can make it, how can make it the streets safer, and there was some great speech from people from the Conservative side and whatever, and as he's going through this rant, people saying, even Kim Ledbetter said, we give way, and he won't give way. It was just a total rant, total complete rant, and it was attack Sadiq Khan, because it's his fault for everything. And then
Les.
Oh yeah.
All knife crime.
You Les got to mention stolen cars, you know. And then when he finished, Labour MP Lynn Brown came up, and she just gave him a piece of her mind and said, I would love to say, she said, I would love to say it's been an honour to follow the honourable gentleman, but I'll be misleading Parliament.
Very good response.
Yeah, she said, and then he clearly won't listen. He thought she said that he'd misled Parliament, and she went, no, I said I would be misleading Parliament, because I did enjoy your rant, but you didn't add anything to debate or anything, and it was just hilariously funny.
Yeah,
but yeah, I did a bit of a video about it today. But yeah, Louis French, what an absolute belt up.
So he's your bell end of the week.
Yes.
But yeah, that interview with, if you haven't seen it yet, just Google Laura Trott or look it up on Twitter, X, whatever. It is possibly the most painful 2 minutes of your life. Watching this Tory MP who works for the Treasury, who doesn't know how numbers work. Like,
I heard about this. I didn't actually see the interview, but I saw some of the fallout.
However bad you think it is, it's worse. Somehow it is worse. But try and get the one where you can see the video. Could you actually see it?
Do you know what? Actually, at first, I thought it was Rosie Holt.
Yes. Well, this is what satire's dead, isn't it? Satire's dead.
Yeah.
Buried.
But
the thing is, with the likes of Maria Perkis,
brilliant,
and
the troll,
Marina
Perkins,
yeah,
who's been on Labour Social. She was part of our Labour Social.
And I mean Jones, people such as that. Satire is dead, because you've got people that are like pointing out these absolute fucking flaws in everything which is against the people. And you've got these what do you call them,
hobbits,
media lovies that are just like, oh, no, that's not right. That's not right. Shut the fuck up.
All right, I didn't follow that very well, but yes, Wayne, whatever you just said, yes, absolutely.
No. But what I'm saying is that I hate the fact that there is this narrative of media lovies that will just toe the line, and then
they're not lovies, mate. The lovies are generally on our side. It's the ones who are just
no.
doing a job.
I
think what you mean is essentially people who are towing the Tory party line, who are
that's what I'm saying. Yeah, that's
who are,
what I'm.
who know which side their bread is buttered on.
Yeah, but it's like
I'm trying to sort of like just taking that lovies
not
word.
lovies in the theatrical sense, darling.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I'm like, what's wrong with
I think the best one was Victoria Derbyshire with Ben Houchin. That was
that was fantastic.
Victoria
Please
Derbyshire is
have a look at
really,
that after the show as well.
She's like getting good.
And she follows me on Twitter. I really like Victoria Derbyshire. She's the best.
She was just awesome.
I'm taking that
bits.
Yeah, I'm taking that lovies line and like reinventing it in the sense of like it's your Victoria Derbyshire's and people that are pushing back against this absolute fucking cock fucking shit fest.
Okay, well that's our advertising revenue gone there. Thanks, Wayne. If anyone wants to drop a super chat before we wrap up, that'd be really helpful.
Graham, to be fair, I used it in very, very specific words. So,
yeah,
in a very
limited and specific way. I do have one more actually a positive note to finish on.
Yeah.
From the news this week, Danny Dyer on Question Time.
Dyer.
Was that this week?
Yeah, it was this week, wasn't it?
No, that was Paddy McGuinness.
Wasn't it just a couple of nights ago?
Paddy McGuinness. Yeah. Paddy McGuinness.
My good close.
Oh yeah, you're right. It was Paddy McGuinness. Sorry, I
Paddy McGuinness
changed
on
his name. I do
Question Time.
apologise.
We got to do a Question Time show on Labour Social.
Yeah, it was.
Watch along.
We need to do a review.
But it was good. He was brilliant. He should be invited again.
Yeah. I just couldn't watch Question Time because I've watched it religiously right back 30 years.
Not since Brexit. Oh no.
But I couldn't, after the trans episode that when they pumped the audience for the gender criticals, which was pretty frightening with India.
I missed that one, thankfully.
Did they really? Is that proven that
they ask you lots of questions before you go on stuff.
By the way, ask, how did you vote?
Absolutely unconnected. Rishi Sunak's appearing down the road down the road from me, in Darlington on Monday on GB News, who are doing a live show. And they're asking people to be in the audience and asking questions. So if you know anyone who's prepared to lie and say they're a Tory Brexit voting lunatic and they live somewhere near Darlington, I'll see you on Monday. Right. Okay, anyway,
Rachel was halfway through a point. So
Real Phil's just dropped in a £5 super chat for the swear jar. Thank you very much to Real Phil. Listen, guys, we're gonna have to wrap it up there. I'm sorry, but it is 11:25, and I've got to go to bed.
Me too.
I'm tired. Ben Chambers had me up all night last night watching movies. We were watching movies. That was all we were. We watched Sisu, which is a Finnish movie. It's basically John Wick, but set in the Second World War, and it's this old Finnish guy basically killing lots of Nazis. That was very satisfying. We watched Saint Maud, which is a British psychological drama film.
Seen that yet.
Which I didn't really like. And then we watched Promising Young Woman, which was directed and written by the same woman who did Saltburn, which I hated. And Promising Young Woman was really good. So I really recommend that. Come back always forgiven.
I watched Brightburn the other day.
Brightburn or Saltburn?
Was it good?
Yeah.
Which one? Brightburn?
Brightburn, yeah.
Is that the one with Will Smith? Where there's all the fantasy people in it?
No, it's basically Superman if he was a bad man.
So like The Boys.
The little boy.
Yeah. Like a Marvel alternative universe.
Yeah. Okay.
It was actually really good.
we're really gonna have to wrap it up, I'm afraid. This has been an
Fucking
absolute
nerds.
pleasure. This has
Lovely
been
to meet you all.
so good.
Meet you
It's
all.
been so enjoyable. Thank you to everyone in the chat.
Thank you.
Thank you to Rachel and Scott and Darren and Cosi and Wayne. Thanks for the super chats. Really, really appreciate it. We'll be back on Monday morning at 9:30 for the Morning Brew. Until then, I'll say hello, good evening, welcome, and goodbye.
Bye. Take care.
Bye.